In our culture, we see the created as the expression of the Creator. So there is always lots of things to learn about the Creator from the created. Looking at the effect, we understand the cause. So the created is nothing but the expression of the same Lord. So in this camp, we will try and understand certain qualities, characteristics, traits of what that infinite self is, expressed through a mighty ocean. In Bhagavatam, we have 24 gurus. A wandering mendicant moves around and he picks up lessons from different things about life, various things. There are certain very interesting things he picks up, which probably none of us would have seen it that way. When we see a snake, what do we learn? Probably run. You understand? You see a snake, run away from it. This man sees a snake and he picks up detachment. How detachment from a snake? Snake makes no house. It goes and stays somewhere for a while and then walks away. So he says, this is how one should be. Don't hold on to anything. Just move around. And somewhere when he was there, someone was feeding him, serving food. And the lady who was serving food was wearing one bangle. Just one single bangle. And he picked up a great lesson from that, Avadut. What is the lesson? Now, we would have also seen single bangle. But he picked up a lesson for life, Advaita philosophy. You need two to make sound. In one, there is silence. In understanding one, it is silent. You need duality to make sound, etc. Focus on silence. The single bangle made no noise. Now looking at that, the person picks up something so profound. Now this is how beautiful our scriptures are, where they talk to us about something and of the created, and then connected to the Creator. So in this camp, we will learn certain lessons from ocean. How it all started is in India, in a place called Chennai, we have an ashram right at the beach. I'm just 3 years old now. So since this ashram came, most of us were spending a lot of time in this ashram and just looking at the ocean. Looking at the ocean is a beautiful experience if your mind is tuned. You sit there and you see the sunrise coming up, and then there is no end. You don't see the end. It is vast, infinite body of water, blue in color, and sitting there quietly brought a lot of reflection. To many of us who go there and sit quietly, it's a great reflective experience. Sitting there, and sometimes, and it is almost like a private beach. No one would be around, just us. So you go sit there, sometimes let's say by 9 p.m. in the night, and you can sit till midnight or more, just quite still. And it is a very beautiful, quiet experience. Going through these experiences, a lot of ideas reflected to many of us that we have collected and gathered and made a poem of 8 verses, which is about the ocean. And my knowledge about Sanskrit is very, very little. Little than what you can imagine as little. Okay. So I called some of our Sanskrit teachers who are well versed in Sanskrit in our Chinmaya Vidyalaya, and I told them, listen, I have made few observations in poem form in English. You guys translate it into Sanskrit. So they took it up and translated it into Sanskrit and brought it more into a lyric form, and that's how this was made. But these are very beautiful reflections, and it can be very helpful for us to connect to the higher. So that's how this text was made, and we would be discussing about it in this camp. So let us chant the first verse. Te Nila Gaganakaram. Repeat each line twice. Te Nila Gaganakaram Visruti Bodhakam Vibho Visruti Bodhakam Vibho Visruti Bodhakam Vibho Visruti Bodhakam Vibho Darshitam Aprameyatvam Darshitam Aprameyatvam Darshitam Aprameyatvam Darshitam Aprameyatvam Namaste Mahodade Namaste Mahodade Namaste Mahodade Namaste Mahodade. We will try to do it together now. Yeah. You lead. Te Nila Gaganakaram Vistruti Bodhakam Vibho Darshitam Aprameyatvam Namaste Mahodade. He says here, O Supremely Pervasive One, Thy blue color, resembling the sky, is reminiscent of all-pervading self. In Thee we glimpse the immeasurable. Darshitam aprameyatvam. Aprameya means immeasurable. This word aprameyam is used in many, many places in our scriptures. Vishnu Sahasranam has this term. Upanishads use this word. In Gurudev's Ashtotara we have this name, Aprameyam. Aprameyam means that which cannot be measured. Immeasurable. So when we look at the ocean, the vastness of it gives us a glimpse of what should be the self. Looking at the ocean, we understand. And then when we start reflecting, we get to see this immeasurable, the mighty ocean, is an expression of that same infinite truth which expresses in us also. That way we are also immeasurable. Now this is a quality we should try to cultivate and practice that what we do should be so deep and so full that it cannot be measured. I'll give you one example. One day, Gurudev was taking class in Coimbatore, and it was Kathopanishad. Swamiji was doing the class, and it was morning class. And this class, generally morning class, he kept it in the outdoor. Generally he does it inside the hall. Morning class, it was quite fine, so he was doing it in the outdoor. And one day, a particular topic, he extended the class because he did not want the topic to end abruptly. He wanted to complete it. So he extended the class, and it was a camp. So when he extended the class, the sun started hitting his face. It was quite bright. But he didn't bother. He went on with the class. One of the devotees could see that the sun was right on his face and there was a glare, and she wanted to get up and hold an umbrella. In a class going on, someone coming and holding an umbrella and Gurudev was very sensitive to any distractions. He won't like anybody distracting, getting distracted in the class. So when he saw her getting little into and trying to take the umbrella out from a bag, he said, "Keep it there, stay." And for a moment she was quiet, but Swamiji went on, and the sun was really bright. So she attempted again, and this time he said, "I told you, keep it there." Then he made a comment. He said, "It is this light which makes that shine." Imagine sitting in the audience, what it must have been listening to him saying this. It is this light which makes that shine. Oh, it was a very powerful sentence. And it so happened, it happens around him very often. When he said that, it is this light which makes that shine, and it was like a roar. A piece of cloud was around which covered the sun for a while. So he joked, "You see now? It's covered. What are you talking in that way? It is this light which makes that shine." Now this is a statement of fact. We need to realize it soon. It is the life which is within, it is this which makes everything enlivened. If we forget the spirit and we identify only with the matter, then what we live would be limited, because we believe only in the limited. Believing in the limited is limiting ourselves. We need to know in us there are two levels. One is the immeasurable, another is measurable. The spirit is immeasurable, the matter is measurable. In the 7th chapter, Krishna talks about the higher self and the lower self. He speaks about the higher self and the lower self. The higher self is that Atman, the spirit. The lower self is the body, the senses, the 5 elements, all that put together. Mind, intellect, ego, all this is the lower self. So when we move in this world, we keep forgetting the higher self. And we keep remembering only the lower self. So it is important we understand what is the higher self in us. And the life well lived would be when we allow the spirit to dominate matter. Not living a life where matter dominates us. For that we need to know the higher, otherwise we live a life only of matter. So here when he says, when we see the verse, we look at it that this ocean, in thee we see the glimpse. What is that glimpse? Of the immeasurable self. And that immeasurable self is there in us too. So first and foremost, we should start understanding that the immeasurable is in us, and how do we apply this in our life? How do we do this? For example, a good noble act performed with all nobility, can it be measured? Fully noble, intention, action, everything was noble. How do we measure it? When you love someone intensely, how do you measure it? How much do you love? Measure it. You see things, there are things which we do cannot be measured. Gurudev's vision cannot be measured. His work cannot be measured. Deep. And the kind of people he would have touched in his life and still continuing to inspire cannot be measured. In his own life and further, it is impossible to measure. Aprameyam. We must be inspired by this term, that what we do also should be so intense that it cannot be measured. And we are not a weakling to find life difficult. When we understand the higher, then we handle the life much better. So we need to have this. Way back somewhere in 1991, this happened in Chennai. There was a young boy studying second year engineering student, came to meet Gurudev absolutely agitated. And Swamiji was inside talking to a few people, and he was outside absolutely agitated. And he told the organizers that he wanted to meet Gurudev. And we said, you wait, Swamiji is busy. And then he said a statement. He said, listen, I have attempted twice on my life this week. Twice he has attempted suicide. I have attempted twice, I want to meet him. Now this is a little serious than what we thought. So we said, they said, can you go tell Swamiji that there's somebody outside with this intensely disturbed mind wants an audience. So I went there, and because Swamiji was discussing something, and so I stood there. He saw me and he said, what is it? Probably understood that I was also tensed listening to this. So I went and I told him, there's one young boy outside. He says, this week he has attempted twice on his life, failed to commit suicide. He wants to meet you. Should I send him now, ask him to come now or later? He said, no, ask him to come. Now this boy came, highly disturbed young man. And I just went and stood on the side. As he came, Swamiji held him close to him. Those who have seen it would know the warmth of that affection. Unknown person who has never met him before. It is not somebody whom you know. It is unknown. The way in which he held him. How do you express that kind of an affection to someone whom you don't know? Known person, yes. It is very spontaneous. The response comes naturally to a known person. Here is an unknown person who is slightly distressed. And he doesn't know him. He held him. One could see the kind of warmth and the affection flowing from his face, holding him. This meeting of these two, this young man and Gurudev, was not more than 30 seconds. That's all. The whole thing was just 30 seconds. And as he held him, he looked at him and he said, if Einstein had done this, what would have happened to physics? Just one question, holding him like that. If Einstein had done this, what would have happened to physics? The boy was just looking, started crying. Then Gurudev said, read a book I have written called We Must. Gurudev's book is there, a very motivating book. We Must, a very, very inspiring book. So he said, read this book. Second sentence, read We Must. Third, he said, we have this Chinmaya Yuva Kendra group. So Gurudev used to call it teenagers group. Sometimes he'll say chick, sometimes he used to say teenagers group. So he said, join the teenagers group, so that this young man has a better companionship, more healthy. He said, join the teenagers group. And since I was there as a brahmachari standing, and he told him, be in touch with him. 4 sentences, took a fruit, gave him, patted him, said, go. These 4 sentences, less than 30 seconds, completely transformed that person's life. And Gurudev passed away in 93. He could never meet Swamiji again because he was studying in the hostel. He went back to the hostel and all that. He never met him again. But this was just 30 seconds and the person's life is completely transformed. Today, he is part of the organization, contributing well to the cause. Look at the transformation. 30 seconds. Aprameyam. How do you change someone for life in 30 seconds? 4 sentences, that is all. See, these 4 sentences we can also talk. You understand? 4 sentences we can try and improve. We can do it in 3 sentences if required. But it will not be the impact because those 30 seconds when he had him with him, it was very pure love and affection, which cannot be measured. Cannot be measured at all. And the person's life transforms forever. This quality we should try and bring into our interactions. At least this quality we should attempt. So if immeasurable, the concept of immeasurable inspires you, then in everything you try and bring your best into it so that it can't be measured. So if we start admiring this quality of immeasurability, there is something which will happen deep down in us. When we admire something, we would like to possess it. So when you admire, Immeasurable, aprameyam. The very quality, how beautiful it is, immeasurable. Then we would like to develop, cultivate it. That's why in our bhakti literature, if you see Ramayana, Bhagavatam and all these books, the Lord would be glorified in so many ways. Vishnu Sahasranam, 1,000 ways glorify Him. Why? Because when we keep listening about His glory, His qualities, His depth, we start admiring it. Wow! When we start admiring something, we would like to possess it. It's a very easy way. Those things which you admire, you want to possess. Check what are the things you admire in life. I admire someone with a lot of wealth. I admire somebody with a lot of power. I admire someone with a lot of name, fame. If this is the kind of admiration, that's what we would like to possess. On the other hand, if you admire quality of an ocean, which we could see in Gurudev, which we could see as the quality of the Lord, when we start admiring something of that kind, then we would like to possess that. So here is a line which says, in thee we see the immeasurable, O ocean, in thee we see the immeasurable, that which can never be measured. And you and I are that infinite self which could never be measured. And also we see here in the first line, he says, O supremely pervasive one, thy blue color resembling the sky. Blue is a color which indicates infinity. It's a color of infinity. Krishna, Rama, Shiva, Vishnu, blue. We pick up these kind of qualities. So that is the first verse. We will now go to the next. Bahuchitra vichitrastvam.
Bahuchitra vichitrastvam.
Bahuchitra vichitrastvam.
Nigudha sagare.
Nigudha ratna sagare.
Nigudha sagare.
Nigudha ratna sagare.
Chandrarkodita kshetrastvam.
Chandrarkodita kshetrastvam.
Chandrarkodita kshetrastvam. Chandrarkodita kshetrastvam. Namaste Mahodade.
Namaste Mahodade.
Namaste Mahodade.
Namaste Mahodade. Namaste, salutations. Mahodade, O mighty ocean. To you we offer our salutations. Bahu Chitra Vichitra. Bahu, many. O wondrous of fascinating charm. Bahu Chitra Vichitrastvam. You are, O wondrous one of fascinating charm. Nigudha Ratna. Ratna jewels, gems, lay concealed in thee. The sun and the moon arise from thy place, Kshetram. From your land, the sun and the moon arises. Very ordinary description. But if you sit there and watch, as the sun comes up from the ocean, sitting quietly watching it, slowly the mind silences itself. That's why sometimes when it is absolutely fascinating beauty you see, we fail to speak. The beauty can stun the mind and momentarily the mind can become silent, still. When you watch the sun rise from the ocean, it's like a ball of gold coming up suddenly. And same thing with the moon. The sun and the moon rise and the sun and the moon set. Either way, when you watch the sun setting and the moon setting into the ocean, or both of them rising, it's a magnificent sight. There is a book by Swami Tapovan Maharaj called Wanderings in the Himalayas. He was only wanderings in the Himalayas, and at every point of the Himalayas, he would remember the Lord, seeing the beauty of the Himalayas. To that extent, once he called the Creator, what a mad painter he is. Because the sky and the clouds and the colors filled in the sky, he was just looking at it, quiet. He says, what a mad painter. The patterns in the sky, the formation of the clouds, they would never be the same again. Every day it has to be completely new, completely different, very original. It is not repeated. Looking at it, he goes into silence. Wordsworth went into trance, looking at daffodils move in the wind. When the daffodils were passing by, Wordsworth just saw them. And the beauty of it was so fascinating that his mind went into stillness. It silences you. So these are most beautiful, fascinating aspects of the creation. When we look at the beauty of it, the mind can go into a state of wonder. Adbhutam, wonder. For momentarily, it stops, the mind stops with an awe and wondering it. Those moments of silence are very important, because those moments of stillness pushes us deep into ourselves. We go into another layer of depth in us. Otherwise, we are always with the mind. Suddenly imagine for some moment, for few moments, the mind is still. When the mind is moving, we are definitely at the superficial level. When the mind becomes still, we push ourselves within. So we find a kind of depth looking at his manifestation, how we see. For Kabir, it happened once in a field. Wheat, etc., paddy. He was walking in the field and the wind was moving. He stopped there. How long, nobody knows. He was just stopped looking at the beauty of it, because it could be so beautiful that the mind goes into silence. And definitely ocean is of that kind. Just looking at it, the mind can become calm. And more so when the sun or the moon rises from it, or the setting sun and the moon, when you watch, the mind goes into silence. I used to go on a trip sometimes for solitude in a cargo ship. If you know someone, I would recommend you do this. Because you're not allowed, you should know the... Going in a cruise is... it's too commercial, too many people around, it is... But if you can go in a cargo ship, which I managed to do because I know someone who can take me across, a person who owns a couple of ships, so he would send me. I would go quietude. And in the crew, in a cargo ship, the crew will not be more than 20 people maximum, 18 to 20, 22. There would be containers. 800, 900,000 containers would be there of all sizes, 20 feet, 40 feet and all that. But crew, people would be less. I used to go off for 15 days, 20 days. In a year, for a few years I was doing. One day, it was full moon. And it was festival Holi. I was in the middle of the sea. Now in the middle of the sea when you go, ocean, that itself is absolutely fascinating because wherever you see, it is blue in color. There is no boundary. Imagine you are a speck looking at things and there is no boundary. And this happened to be a full moon, that too Holi, where we celebrate colors. Imagine a festival celebrating colors. And I was alone on the top of the ship. The top above the bridge of the ship, I don't know why they call it Monkey Island. Monkey Island. That place you can see 360 degrees. Nowhere else you can see 360 degrees. There if you are, any side you see 360 degrees unobstructed vision. I was there and I could see the sun setting down. Evening time. The sun was going down and the moon was coming up. The sight was fascinating. The sun, a huge golden ball going inside. Can you imagine when the sun sets how the skyline is, the sky is? If there is any kind of clouds, you will see all of them in orange, saffron. And this side, the moon was coming up. To see a full moon popping out of the sea and seeing a sun going inside, you go speechless. I have no idea what it is. The beauty of Ishvara in this form is too fascinating. All you can do is sit there, tears rushing down your ear. And I only remembered, last thought before you were quiet, was like how Swami Tapovan Maharaj would have responded to this sight. Because he describes it very beautifully generally, how it would have been. Ishvara Darshan. The beauty is seeing the Lord in these forms. So ocean that way is a great source if we have the right mind to silence ourselves and to experience wonder. And it is of fascination. The shades of color changing. Different times you have different, so every moment you sit there, it is a kind of a wondrous experience. The vastness can silence the mind. So here that's where we are saying it is a beauty of many wonderful things, and different gems are inside. When you go inside the ocean, if you go scuba diving, 10 feet you go inside. 10, 12 feet, a beginner also can do it. I recommend again. If not scuba diving, at least snorkels, where you just wear and go. And 10 or 12 feet sunlight gets to the bottom. You can't go very deep. I'm not talking about deep sea diving. I'm just talking, scuba diving, just little. 10, 12 feet, the sunlight goes in. You can see the sunlight. Now, what it is to see the light penetrating through 10 feet of water, and then you hit the ocean bed. The colors, what you see inside, you don't see it outside. But the beauty of fish which moves there, the shells which are there, the corals which are there, the sight is so beautiful, filled with wonder. And all one can do is be stunned by them. And that's when you admire what must be the Creator. Satyam Shivam Sundaram. What must be Him? Just 10 feet into the ocean. And then what you see is a completely different beauty altogether. This kind of visions will get the mind silent. And those moments of silence are very important for a seeker. It makes a person with great hope that I can also silence my mind. Today that is not there. If you tell someone, quieten your mind, say, you're joking. I have tried it. Mind getting quietened, impossible. In fact, Arjuna throws up his arms in the 6th chapter of the Gita. He tells Krishna, enough. I don't think my mind can ever become quiet. Chanchalam hi mana Krishna. I don't think this chanchalatva in my mind can ever be silent. It is so turbulent. It is moving continuously. How does it become quiet? So mind is like that. Krishna says, you are right. Who said it is going to be easy? It is indeed hard. The mind is going to be difficult. But you can silence it through abhyasa and detachment, vairagya. So there should be areas where our mind becomes silent for us to be confident that my mind can become quiet. And nothing would be more better using the outer world to get the mind silenced there. It can be daffodils, it can be like Kabir, a field, a paddy field, and he became quiet. It can be a sunrise or a sunset or a moon coming up or the starlit night sky. Just looking at it, mind can get into a kind of stillness. More of this we will take up in the next session. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Sri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.